It is the top 5. So top 5 big reveals on the Big 12 schedule, and I understand that this might not be the top 5 biggest ones, but from the first 20 minutes of us reading the schedule, this is what I got out of it. Number 5, BYU might have the toughest schedule overall of the newbies, in that they have, let's see, where's BYU? Their non-conference already has Arkansas. Then on the road at Kansas, TCU on the road, Tech, Texas, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State might be the toughest of the new entrance into the Big 12. Again, that's going to remain to be seen. We don't even know about it, but that one is pretty tough, especially when you throw in your already scheduled non-conference game against Arkansas.
Yeah, that should be a pretty fun ride for Kalani Sitake and crew. To get Texas and Oklahoma, and some teams aren't playing either one of them, should be a real boon for them. And have the big road trip to Austin, be able to get in front of, I'm sure, a lot of recruits and whatnot, and just being, a good stadium and, different experience. I know BYU played there, but for Sitake, as he mentioned, he wasn't there when they played. So I'm sure that'll be cool for him and cool for that team, and they play them both within a month. And, like you said, get Oklahoma State, get Arkansas earlier in the year, get TCU, get Tech. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. Curious to see kind of how their preseason predictions go.
Yeah. Number 4, K-State and Oklahoma State have the early bye week and play 8 straight to end the year. So
TCU had that this year?
Yeah, TCU had that this year. TCU actually this year has the latest bye week. They play 8 straight to start the year. So I'm not sure which of those two things is better. I maybe would rather have a later bye week, although Kalani Sitake said he liked theirs kind of in the middle this year, which they never have really had as an FBS independent. But 8 straight to end the year for K-State and Oklahoma State is going to be interesting. Oklahoma State's and each of them play each other to begin that 8 straight. They come off the bye, they play each other, and then they play 8 straight. So to me, I'd rather have it a little bit later so I didn't have to play 8 on the back end. But that kind of jumped out at me there.
Yeah, that'll be tough. Kind of deflates some of it, though, when you talk about TCU just did this. And, granted, it didn't result in, a Big 12 or national title, but they did have the playoff win and obviously had the perfect regular season. So it's doable, but definitely is not any easy task. And, Oklahoma State's got all 4 of the new schools in their last 5 games, and then Oklahoma right after Cincinnati. But, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, UCF, Houston, BYU. If there is a learning curve, then they're getting 4 schools who are all on a learning curve in their last 5 games. So if you handle your business in the first half of the year, you might be set up pretty well. But, who the heck knows what they're going to look like by next year with all the turnover there.
Yeah. Number 3, 8 home games for Baylor. One of the things we said for months and months and months going through Baylor's schedule last year was that they not only had tough road games, they had the tough road games in places that they had not won a whole lot. At Texas, at Iowa State, which they did win, but those kind of things they had to deal with.
Yeah, they won in Norman and Ames, and Lubbock.
Yeah, but those are places historically. But at least now, on the other side of that, they have a fantastic home schedule. They've got their 3 non-conference games at home, which does include Utah. You got Texas at home. You've got Tech at home. Iowa State, Houston, and West Virginia all at home. Not going to West Virginia might be, honestly, like the best gift in this one-off schedule that Baylor could have gotten. Yeah. Because they've never won there. So 8 home games, again, the rosters of most of the league are totally in flux right now. So to really be able to say, that's a great matchup or not, we didn't really know who Baylor is on offense right now, given the offensive line, wide receivers, all that stuff is going to be really, really interesting as it develops. But they do have 8 home games, so they need to make that to their advantage and go, I would hope, at least 6-2 in those.
2 of their 4 conference games on the road are against 2 of the incoming schools in UCF, which that's a crazy atmosphere. And then in Cincinnati, Nippert, which is known for a heck of an atmosphere too.
Yeah, they've got the first month at home. They could be 2-2 very easily. They could also be 2-3 by the time Tech's done. I'm seeing a lot of already predictions of that that Tech's going to win that Baylor game. I mean, I think we need to see some more information, but that's one that could be a toss-up. But I'm just seeing that, like, when people are making their predictions and whatnot, it's just like that's an automatic. And, I mean, I don't know. I think they're pretty close regardless of how the season's ended. I don't think there's that much separation, but maybe there will be. We'll see. But, yeah, I mean, if that doesn't go Baylor's way and Tech gets a little, payback for losing at home last year, then they could be looking at 2-3 right in the face at home in the first 5 games of the home schedule, which would be massively disappointing if you were 2-3 after 5 home games. But UCF's also in there, so they could be 3-3, I guess. But I'm just talking strictly those first 5 home games. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle that first month. I think that'll set the tone for how the rest of it goes. Will be how they hang with Utah and Texas, how those 2 results go.
It might be, and I don't know this for a fact but this might be the earliest they've played Texas in perhaps in a long time.
Yeah, I don't personally remember them ever playing them in my tenure here, which is in its second decade.
They had the 6-0 start in 2016. That was the year from transition.
Yeah,
and hell. But that game was like week 7.
Yeah, so
I don't. Maybe there's one that slipped in. I don't remember that.
In my opinion, this is the best home schedule that Baylor has ever had, as far as opponents coming in. When you throw Utah, Texas, Tech, Iowa State, Houston, West Virginia, all in there, that is a fantastic home slate. Especially non-conference wise, they've never had someone as good as Utah. I mean, Cam Rising going to be here. Like, do you think about the quarterbacks that they're going to play across the schedule? But before the bye week, they're going to play Cam Rising. They're going to play Quinn Ewers, both at home, John Rice Plumlee and Shuck. So, I mean, I think it's going to be – that's a great schedule with 3 of those dudes coming into Waco.
Yeah, we'll see with Cam Rising. Need to see more health updates on him as the offseason goes along, because I don't know if there's something that maybe gets him off to a slow start, or if, he's ready for the non-con. I don't know based on what I saw the last time around. But, yeah, I mean, that's definitely the best team that I've seen roll in, all due respect to BYU. That's a bit of a step up, in terms of now BYU's familiar. So who would you say it's going to be? Probably Utah. So, yeah, to have played 2 hated rivals like that in back-to-backs kind of unique and just strange luck. But, yeah, that's going to be one that I think a lot of people get really geared up for. But they got to handle that first month, and how they do that will be imperative to the rest of the slate.
A back-to-back Power 5 conference champion in Utah coming in here.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal. They've never had that before. Number 2, Oklahoma State host the last Bedlam on November 4th, which I thought maybe they would do this one at the end, just out of sentimentality, but they didn't at November 4th. And Oklahoma State gets to host it. So that might have been maybe the little jab at Oklahoma that on the schedule that you got one more Bedlam, and nobody we had on today said that especially Chris Besman, who would be in this, said, about another year. It's a kind of a one-off schedule, but the last Bedlam probably is going to be in Stillwater and not Norman.
Yeah, I mean, probably as it should be. I mean, Oklahoma State's the one that's sticking around, so, I'm not sure what all went into those decisions, but I think that's only right. I think there's certain things that you did take into account if you were making this schedule up, and I'm not sure how much human influence there actually was versus the algorithm they used or whatever. But, I think it's fitting that Oklahoma's having to play at Stillwater on their way out, if it's in fact their way out, which we still don't know for sure yet, but good hunch that it probably is. But, yeah, that only seems fair.
Yeah, by the way, Sir Bob blah, blah. Not true about Utah. BYU on the Pac-12 in 2021 when they had that great year. At number 1, Paxton, you're right. Texas at Houston, October 21st. This is something we talked about for a long time. The Big 12 made it happen. Had to, especially if Texas, being in the last year, had to make sure that this game happened. It did. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I hope for Houston fans' sake that they don't get overwhelmed with burnt orange in there. But that means that they're going to have to buy up all those tickets before they do hit the secondary market. So once they do, then you're probably in trouble, because there are a lot of burnt orange people in Houston, Texas.
Well, there's a lot everywhere.
Yeah,
in
but
Texas.
especially in Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be pretty disappointing on Houston's end to not have it more of a red crowd than a burnt orange crowd, but I understand how those things can work. But I mean, this is why you joined the Big 12, was to play, games like this. Granted, you're only going to get probably this one opportunity to do it, but I would sure as heck hope that after all these years of waiting and knowing what it's like to be on the other side of things, that with Texas rolling into town, the gift you've been given for that atmosphere will be taken full advantage of. And if not, then that's one of your first major missteps in Big 12 play, would be not taking advantage of that. But I'm sure Houston fans will, and that should be a rowdy game.
All right. One of the questions that's on the chat room is there any